Uh, can you share with us your history before joining Lotus Racing?
Yes, absolutely, no problem. I graduated around 11 years ago from Leeds University with a mechanical engineering degree, and was lucky enough to get a job at Harrows F1 at the time as a stress engineer, basically. Did that for 2 or 3 years, and then the team actually ceased to exist, it went under, so was lucky enough to move on to another one directly, which was Jaguar Racing at the time. That turned into Red Bull, and towards the end of my time I actually became assistant chief designer, and I was there until the middle of 2008, then went from there to Force India, and then from there to here fairly soon after, really. So that's roughly what I've been up to since graduation. Yeah. So.
Can you tell us more about your job? What do you actually do?
Yeah, sure. I'm effectively responsible for trying to make sure that everything that's underneath the direct clothing that you see on the car, so the aerodynamics aspects of it, reliable, safe for the driver environment, and try and meet the performance targets set down by, I guess, Elliot and his guys in the vehicle performance group, and try and make it usable for the race engineers as well. And yeah, primarily try and do everything we can to put as much influence behind the aero as we can, and lower the centre of gravity height of the car as we can, as much as we can. So, and there's a team of sort of 20 odd guys helping us do that. So, yeah.
And designing a Formula 1 car is not like designing a production vehicle,
No.
where you can have up to 4 or 5 years designing a car.
Mm-hmm.
Formula 1, you need, there's much less time. So
Yeah.
what kind of time frame you're working at? For example, now that we are going to next season,
Mm-hmm.
so when did work on the 2011 car actually start?
Okay, the very first things we started thinking about were obviously where to put the wheels largely along the car, that kind of thing, and that started back at the end of June, the start of July. And then we put a few more people onto the job perhaps during August, and then since then it's been mainly working on the new car. So we'd ordinarily have an intense cycle of around 4 months, which we're in the middle of now, towards the end of ideally. And that then means we roll out the first testing next year. So it's ordinarily, say, 5 months of very hard work between October and when the car runs. And previous to that, sort of transferring resource from the car you're running during the season onto the new one. Yeah.
And how's the progress on the car has been going for the 2011 car?
Seems pretty good so far, yeah. I think everyone's fairly happy with what we've been going along with so far. There's a lot of progress to be made, obviously, from where we were. It was a good basis to work from, but we all know what the expectations are on going forward, so we need to do a better job next year. So.
How is it different compared to the start of the season,
Mm-hmm.
where obviously Lotus Racing had less personnel and now there are much more people here?
Yeah. I just sort of joined in the middle of the season anyway myself, and since then even the office I think has gone from having maybe 6 or 7 people in it to being pretty much full with the sort of 25 people we have now. So it's changed quite a lot, and that's been quite a challenge to integrate everyone to one another and assign them the right tasks as we've gone along. But it's certainly been very interesting. Everyone's getting along fairly well, I think, and yeah, we're looking forward to what we can produce next year.
In terms of upgrades for next season,
Yeah.
what are the things that we are looking at?
What are we trying to do? One of the primary ones from my point of view is to try and make the car a little bit lighter than it was, perhaps. It can carry a bit more ballast, which is always one of the things that, as a designer underneath the aerodynamics of the car, if you like, you're trying to get the most aspects from. Trying to ensure that the car is stiff enough so the wheels move as we expect everywhere, which again this one was good for. We just need to make sure we carry on doing a similar thing there. Try and look after the tyres as well as we can, because obviously them being a new construction, a new manufacturer, it means they're going to be very important in the first half of the season, I'm sure, when everyone finds out how best to use them. So we need to try and make the car adaptable so that we can produce parts that help that as much as we possibly can. But again, primarily the main thing is to be able to put aerodynamic upgrades on the car as quickly as we can, really. So.
Okay. Actually, back to the whole schedule issue. Now it's pretty much halfway point since you started in June. Slightly more than half, right?
Roughly, yeah.
At this point, what have you already accomplished and what's left to do?
In terms of the design aspects,
Yes.
Well, we've pretty much finished the main chassis design, which is what we call the sort of survival cell, the thing that the driver sits in, his safety environment, if you like, and most of the suspension parts are now finished. So we're now moving on to more peripheral parts, if you like, ones that you tend to sort of work outwards from there, because once that's completed and defined, you can then work out how to bolt things to it, if you like. So we're now at the stage where we're starting to look into a lot of the bodywork panels that close the car, and before that even we need to look into items like the radiator coolers, called the engine oil and the engine water, make sure the gearbox is looked after in terms of its systems. So yeah, you basically work from the driver out, I guess is an easier way to put it, where you try and put it in about the right place in the car, work out all the legality aspects of that part, get that sorted out, if you like, and then work out what's from there from suspension, then ultimately other parts.
So in terms of designing the car from ground up,
Yeah.
Lotus Racing has A to Z, as in you don't need to outsource any of the design work. Everything can be done in-house.
Yes,
You have
pretty
all
much.
the
Yeah, I
equipment,
think the
all
only
the
thing we
system.
have done again is we've actually purchased the gearbox again, which I think we probably had from Liverpool. So that's one thing that we wouldn't have enough personnel to do all of that ourselves, certainly. But other than that, yes.
Okay. And in terms of manpower from Malaysia,
Mhm.
I understand that there are a few Malaysians working in the
Yeah,
design
yeah,
department.
yeah.
There are how many exactly?
I believe we have 2 guys in the stress group here,
Two,
the
okay.
ones that sort of work more directly for me than any of the others, I think.
Mhm.
Seem to be going on fine. Yeah, they both have an aerospace background, I think, so they know how to analyse things, which is great. Yeah.
Do you
Getting on
see
quite well.
more potential in more Malaysians coming in and working in the Formula One industry other than Lotus
See
Racing?
why not? Yeah.
And lastly, about the wind tunnel, because there were plans to build a wind tunnel.
Yes, yeah.
How's that coming along?
Don't know much about the details of that, to be honest, because I'm not really directly involved in that group, but I do believe there are plans going ahead and going through to try and have one here on site. Yeah, again, I don't really know when. But,
Do you think that if you have that on site, how much? Obviously, it will help, but
Yeah.
how much it'll help?
I think it's
design
very
the car?
significant because having it nearby or on site is similar to having, let's say I was working in an office almost by myself with the guys I'm supposed to be working with a few hundred miles away, kilometres away, and it makes it very difficult to communicate effectively and make sure you get what you'd like to happen all the time. And I think in terms of the manufacturing aspect that would need to come in-house as well, having your own tunnel, it's all quite important stuff really that would mean it's a much more integrated approach to getting the car done every year.
So it's more on the approach side. Will it actually affect the performance of a car?
Yeah.
It will.
For sure, yeah, because it'll mean everyone can work together more effectively, I think.
So you end up producing a much better product.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
the idea, I think.
Okay, thank you.
Ja, dus, sorry, aber das will